All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, in this one, I wanted to really highlight some comments that Aaron Rodgers made yesterday. We talked a little bit about it at the end of the practice recap video that I did yesterday, but I wanted to dive more into it, right? Because I feel like it's really, really important, not only for Aaron himself, but for the state of the team, where we stand financially, and it just seems like we have a real good connection right now between Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. So, the first quote here, in regards to taking the $35 million pay cut, he sat down with Peter King and said that big names move at the trade deadline now. I wanted to make sure that if somebody valuable came available, we'd be able to get him. I'm very happy with the contract. I feel great about it. He then sits down with Kay Adams, and when the pay cut came up again, he said that this team is going to be able to do some things. Kay asked, like what? And Rodgers replied, there's a guy here at practice yesterday talking about Dalvin Cook. And if we've learned anything about Rodgers so far with the Jets, it's that he's thoughtful, right? We've heard that from him. We've heard that from Saleh. He puts a lot of thought into decisions, into the things that he says, right? It does not seem like Rodgers is just like, yeah, let's try this. Hopefully it works. Or let's sign this player. I don't really know how it's going to pan out, but we'll try it. It seems like with everything he does, with everything he says, there's a plan in place, the pros, the cons. This will work because of these reasons. It will not work because of these reasons. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we've seen guys like Randall Cobb get added to the roster, Billy Turner, Alan Lazard, because Rodgers does have a say. He does bring good points to the table, right? You know, in regards to, Alan Lazard, for an example, this is somebody who, of course, on the field, red zone target, great blocker in the running game, can hurt teams over the middle of the field off of play action, occasionally take that deep shot to the end zone. Like, he presents a lot of stuff, but on the flip side, he could also say, hey, I've worked with Rodgers. I've worked with Nathaniel Hackett. I know this system. I can help teach it to Garrett Wilson. I could teach it to Brownlee, in camp. I can smooth out the learning curve. I could help be a coach on the field. Same thing with Randall Cobb. And the reason why I bring it up is because, I think if Aaron Rodgers was not the Jets quarterback, right, they traded for Ryan Tannehill, they signed Jimmy G or Derek Carr, the other QBs that that they were interested in. Once free agency started opening up, I don't think Randall Cobb would have been a major target. I don't think the Jets would have been linked to Mercedes Lewis right out of the gate. I think it's more so Rodgers coming to the Jets and saying, hey, we really need these guys. I really want these guys in the locker room. They will help out the team in numerous ways. And the Jets are, saying, yeah, let's do it. We're on board. Whatever's going to make your life easier, whatever you want. You are the first ballot Hall of Famer here. Whatever's going to make your life easier, right? Rodgers knows what he's talking about. And I felt, going back to Green Bay, I felt like there was always a lot of pushback. There were always storylines in the offseason. Can they get Rodgers some help on defense? That was, a storyline for a long, long time. And then as of recently, it was always like, can we get Rodgers some help outside of Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones? Can we draft a wide receiver in the first round? And granted, Green Bay has added some nice young pieces and Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson and whatnot. But there was always that question, like Green Bay, can we make that splash move at the trade deadline? And it just never really seemed to happen. I mean, we could think back to Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Think about all those like random veteran signings that the Bucs made throughout Brady's tenure. I mean, just off the top of my head, I haven't done any research on it. Julio Jones, Richard Sherman, Ndamukong Suh, Leonard Fournette, Antonio Brown, Keanu Neal, Gronkowski, right? These guys understand that Tom Brady's a legend. Aaron Rodgers is a legend. Peyton Manning is a legend. We saw this too a little bit when he went to Denver. It's like, let's hop on. These star quarterbacks are vouching for us. They want us there. Let's go sign. Let's go sign. And the team is allowing it to happen. They're welcoming it in. Kind of another analogy, another example is LeBron with Cleveland. His second time there after Miami. I mean, he was adamant, let's get Kevin Love in the building. And they made it work. Let's go get, the J.R. Smiths, the James Jones of the world, right? Let's load up this team with guys that LeBron has in mind. Now, of course, ultimately with the Bucks it worked. With the Cavs, it worked. Will it work for the Jets? Of course, that's only time will tell here. But I'll say this: it really, and people keep talking about Aaron Rodgers being more energized. He just seems kind of rejuvenated. And I think a lot of that has to do with the Jets saying, like, you are a massive, massive part of the team. You're the face of the franchise now. We're really, really going to value your opinion. If you really want a wide receiver, if you really want a specific offensive lineman, we're not just shutting the door in your face saying, no, I'm the general manager. It's not your team. It's my team. I'm the general manager. It does not seem like that at all. It seems like there's a lot of open communication, and big names will be on the move, just like Rodgers said. I mean, it happens every year, whether we're talking off season, whether we're talking trade deadline, big names are always floated around. So one would think, I don't want to dive too much into it. It's another video for another day, sooner rather than later. But, when I'm thinking about a trade deadline situation where the Jets are looking to add a piece, and of course, we don't really know what piece that would be. We don't know how the season's going to play out. But right now, when I'm thinking the big name players that could be on the move, why are these big name players on the move? A, they're either too expensive. B, these are really good players that are on teams that aren't having good years, right? So, I mean, we always have the surprise team that, is struggling mightily at the trade deadline, whether it be injury or just overall disappointment. We're going to have naturally the teams that don't rack up a lot of wins. And when we're just trying to do some rough projections, I mean, a lot of people are saying that the Raiders are not going to be very good. I'm going to push back. I think the Raiders are going to not be as bad as everybody says. I'm not saying they're going to win the West, but when I look at the Raiders, it's like they did make some nice offseason acquisitions. They addressed some needs. They lost a lot of games last season in like embarrassing fashion, like one possession losses, or they blew it in the end. Just stuff that doesn't typically happen from year to year. It doesn't really translate. They were kind of like the opposite Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings were great in one-score games. It always seemed like the ball bounced in their favor in the fourth quarter. With the Raiders, it was the opposite. Blown double-digit leads, stuff like that. But I digress. We can talk about the Raiders and Devontae Adams. We can talk about potentially Green Bay and David Bakhtiari. We can talk about other offensive linemen. I know a lot of people are saying that the Buccaneers are going to be really bad. I don't want to, Sharpie that in as well. I'm a little hesitant on that. But hey, if the Bucs have 2 wins by the trade deadline, is Chris Godwin available? Is Mike Evans available? Is one of their offensive linemen available? I think James Hurst is an interesting option too from the New Orleans Saints. And I know I'm rattling a bunch of names off on the offense side of the football because that's just naturally where, my mind goes with it. But in the event that somebody goes down, right, a pass rusher goes down, we need somebody else. We have the flexibility to do that. And that's really the bottom line. That's the point of Aaron Rodgers taking the pay cut. That's the point of these interviews, right? Dalvin Cook too, and Rodgers alluded to him. It's like, I'm not just doing this $35 million pay cut. That's a lot of money, guaranteed money, pay cut. I'm not just giving that money back to make people happy. I'm doing it to load this team up with talent, to make sure we don't have any loose ends anywhere, so we can put the best possible foot forward, the most talented football team out on the field. Whether that be adding a player now, whether that be trading for a player at the deadline, shoring up an issue midway through the season, we now can do that. We're not going to be financially strapped, where it's like this massive pain because, Rodgers is making whatever it is, 27 million a season. He's making around $9 million as far as the cap hit is concerned. So it's totally cool. It's totally cool. Of course, Rodgers is in the building. He's totally energized to be there. But, I mean, there's so much stuff happening, off the field that needs to be talked about with the leadership, with him helping the young guys, embracing it, with him showing up to OTAs, with him taking this $35 million pay cut, with him hanging out with the teammates outside doing like other activities and whatnot, going to games. I mean, this has been such a cool experience. And what's funny, we're not even at the Hall of Fame game yet. And by the way, kind of leaving the door open to play 2-3 years. Like, he's not just shutting it down. This is my last year, one last ride type of thing. I mean, man, this has been crazy. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.